In this video, I'm going to be covering the stock sectors that I think are going to perform the best in 2024. In 2023, technology and communication services did great and they performed awesome. I'm glad that I have stocks in those sectors. I'm not expecting a repeat in 2024. If you recall, those same sectors, technology and communication services, in 2022 lost a lot of value. So it's not a matter of just sticking to the same sectors from year to year. It's a matter of trying to figure out what stocks is the market unfairly discounting. I want to buy those stocks and then watch those stock prices go up when the market realizes, hey, there's a lot of value to be had there. So in this video, I'm going to cover sectors where I think it's a good area to look into to find those jewels that will be worth a lot in 2024. Before I jump into the video, do me a favor and like my video and subscribe to my channel. And also, please comment on which sectors you think are going to do well in 2024. To try to find the best sectors in 2024, let me look at 2023 and look at performance, potentially look for sectors that are undervalued. The top sectors, information technology and communication services, they did great. And those are in first and second place. Discretionary, consumer discretionary also did well. And what I wanted to do was actually look at the 10-year and look at the 5-year, which tell me which sectors tend to perform well over time, but then find a sector that is really beaten down. And as I look through, I have in first place is technology, consumer discretionaries in second place. In third place is healthcare. Fourth place is industrials and so forth. So I'm going to try to go through and I'm going to show you my top 3 sectors and I'll explain why. And I'll kind of show you where I'm going to be looking for stocks in the coming month to try to find some stocks that are undervalued that I could buy. And I'm willing to bet that those stocks are going to perform well in 2024. The economy is expected to go into recession. And this recession, it's been a weird time. For the last 2 years, we've expected a recession, or at least there's been talk of a recession. But I think there's agreement that we're beginning to slow down and we should see a recession come up. It's going to be a light recession, but we should see some unemployment figures pick up. I think growth for companies is going to slow down a bit. And you're going to see the Federal Reserve begin to lower interest rates. So it's just a fact that we're going into some type of recession or slow period for the economy. And that's good to consider as I look at sectors, which sector will do well in a recession. The number one sector is healthcare. This sector, I think, is going to do really well because historically it has returned a very good return. Yet for the last year, it's just barely in the positive. It hasn't kept up with the S&P. The other reason I like this sector is if we go into a recession, this sector is going to do really well because healthcare tends to perform really well during recessions. So there's a couple of reasons behind that. One, it's a discounted sector. I think there's some good stocks to be bought in that sector. The recession is around the corner, and this sector ought to perform well in that particular sector. If we look at what kind of industries are in this sector, industries, and I rank these industries based on the 5-year returns from the best to the worst. Healthcare providers, these are the payers like the United Healthcares. I just did a video on Cigna. Those belong here as well as some service providers. So those are doing or have done really well historically. But look at the year to date; it's down. Okay, so to me, it kind of shows that hey, there might be some discounted companies there. Number 2 is life science tools and services, and that particular industry has done well. And there's some others like equipment, and the one that caught my attention too was pharmaceutical. I always thought pharmaceutical was a really good industry, but it hasn't done that great over the last 5 years. But it is beaten down over the past year. So I'm not going to sell my pharma stocks right away, but it was interesting to see that. So this gives me kind of an area where I can look for stocks based on that industry, use my stock screener, and then find stocks that go through my process. I value stocks and I buy them at a discount. And if I see that the company is a good company, I just think that it's discounted, I'm going to buy another company or two within this sector for 2024. The second sector that I think is going to do well is financials. And financials is going to do well because in the springtime of 2023, especially banks were beaten down because there's a big banking scare. Well, that banking scare was more fear than it was fact. And we saw that most banks were discounted and they really rallied toward the end of the year. Also, interest rates. As interest rates really went up, it was expected that a lot of these financial services companies were going to suffer. And there was probably some logic behind that expectation. But then interest rates really fell in the last 3 months of 2023. With lower interest rates, I think it's going to fuel growth for a lot of these financial services companies. So there's a lot more room for this particular sector to run. It's been doing really well for the last 3 months. It's up 12%. Year to date, it isn't doing awful. It's up 9.94%, but the S&P is up 26%, I believe. So it hasn't kept up with the S&P, but historically, it's a sector that's done well over the last 10 years. On average, the company would have returned 113% and almost 60% over the last 5 years. So it's a sector that I think is going to have some really good companies. I own a quite number of financial services companies, banks, and so forth. And they've done really well over the last 3 months. I'm not sure I'm going to buy more shares in these companies because I already own so many. So, but it's worth taking a look to see if there's one or two more in there. The particular industries in this sector, we have capital markets was ranked number one. If you look at the returns for the last 5 years, they're up the most. Consumer finance, that's interesting. The whole buy now, pay later model, I know that's really been taken off. Affirm's doing great. I think PayPal is a pretty good play on consumer finance. Insurance, I have two insurance companies. I think I'm good to go there. And I really like the returns that I've had so far on Allstate as well as Prudential. And I think they're going to do really well in 2024. Financial services, again, this is like PayPal, and I have StoneCo down in Brazil. So I think I'm well covered. I even have capital markets, I have Coinbase, and I have Robinhood. So I have a couple of positions that cover these. But who knows? Maybe if I find another one that's worth adding, I might add it to my portfolio, because I think this sector is really going to do well in 2024. The third sector is industrials. And industrials, historically has done well, but over the 1 year, it hasn't done awful. I mean, it's 16.99% for 1 year. It didn't keep up with the S&P, but it's done a lot better than healthcare or financials that I just showed. I think this particular sector, it has a very broad list of industries. Boy, we got 12 or so different industries to pick from. But some of these industries are doing really well. If you look at construction and engineering, it's up 431% as an industry. The trick to it is picking the right ones. A lot of these are low caps and higher risk, but trade companies and distributors are doing really well. Commercial, building products, machinery, professional services. So there's a lot there to look into. This is like 12 different industries. And I think it's worth taking a look at. This is probably going to be the area that I am looking for one or two more companies. I own a few industrial companies like 3M. I own a couple of shipping companies and would like to pick up one more or so. These also tend to pay dividends, which is good for my income portfolio. So this is going to be an area of research for me going forward. And I want to pick up one or two more shares in early 2024 to benefit from the rebound of this particular sector. I'd like to cover the principle of a diversification and how it could be a real benefit to a portfolio and how it could also be a problem for a portfolio. Now, Peter Lynch used to say, hey, make sure you diversify. You don't diversify, meaning don't make your portfolio weaker just because you want to go into other sectors to reduce risk. It's important to really pick companies that you understand, pick companies that you believe in, pick companies that have very good fundamentals and you think are going to really rally going forward. Even if you're not diversified, it's better to have companies you believe in than not believe in. So that's an important concept as I look at these sectors, especially in industrials. Industrials is such a wide, variation of types of companies. It's hard to get a handle on them. So I'm only going to pick companies that I can understand, that I believe in, that I think are really discounted. So that's it for my video. I hope you found it interesting and maybe picked up an idea or two on how you're going to manage your portfolio in 2024. Do me a favor and like my video and subscribe to my channel. And please leave a comment on which sectors you believe are going to do really well in 2024, as well as how you view your diversification strategy within your portfolio and your holdings. Thanks again for watching.